Welcome into our lives.
And welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
We're so happy to have you.
Join us as we embark on a journey of deep exploration, soul searching, and asking the hard questions.
With the goal of truly understanding the most aligned, empowered, and purposeful versions of ourselves.
We want to live an extraordinary life, and we're willing to dig deep to find out what it takes.
Buckle up. You're about to meet a new version of yourself, an extraordinary one. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hi there.
How are we doing?
Yeah, doing well. Doing well.
You're getting ready for a big trip. Are you stoked or what?
I'm so excited. Literally so excited. Leaving tomorrow. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. A long time coming. A month in Australia.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. We will all be living vicariously through you, so you better be sharing all the videos, all the pictures, all the details with us, please.
Oh, for sure. End of summer in Australia. It's going to be great. Lots of time in the ocean.
Yeah, we need a whole tour. I feel like a lot of Americans just don't really know. Like, we know the major city names, and we have this like vision of like beautiful blue beaches, with the coral reef underneath the crystal blue ocean. But like, we need a real tour. So please take us with you virtually.
You guys will be coming with me. You will be right alongside me, and I'm doing the tour this time. Like a lot of places: Adelaide, my hometown; Sydney, Melbourne, Gold Coast. This trip, doing the Great Ocean Road in Victoria. There's going to be surfing. There's going to be swimming. My best friend's wedding. The whole shebang.
There's going to be Donut Daddy.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be Donut Daddy. We are meeting Donut Daddy in Melbourne. Well, we really hope so.
Well, he said yes. So, okay. If you guys don't know who Donut Daddy is, you need to go
Get
to
on Instagram right now.
Immediately and look up Donut Daddy, and you will not be mad that you did. And we're hoping to have him on the podcast. He said yes.
You'll be mad if your girlfriend follows him and you didn't know about it.
Ladies, this one is for you. He's just this like handsome, sparkly dude making beautiful pastries and desserts in a very sexual way, and it is just like everything about it is so good. The music, the marketing, the artistry of like everything that he's doing is just so dead on. I'm not even there for like the visual of him, like I'll take it, but it's just like this beautiful creative thing that is it's perfect in every way.
Amazing video work, and he just gets right into it. It is raunchy, and I will say I love a Donut Daddy video.
Donut Daddy, check him out.
Brooke,
I mean,
you're the one who introduced me to it.
I know, I did. I like started to sprinkle it out to a few girlfriends to be like, are people gonna think I'm creepy, or are they gonna be into this? And now I'm just like, everyone needs to know about him, And maybe
it needs to be appreciated.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you guys will fall in love. We'll all be coming out to your wedding in a few years in Australia. Like I see it.
She's jumping the gun here. Not no. For donuts and
Not
a daddy.
No.
All right.
All the pastries you want. Yeah. Well,
Jesus.
I will miss you while you're on your trip. But just
miss you too.
Hoping, I know your mom deserves to see you, and you'll have a great time seeing all your other friends that aren't me. So I'll just be waiting here patiently for your return.
I'll be back here. Don't you worry, B. Don't you worry, I'll be back for you.
In relation to today's episode, I have to tell you that I'm psychic.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, let's hear it.
No, truly. Okay, well, I mean, look. Okay, I think I've known this for a while. I'm now currently like leaning into it and honing my psychic skills, like crazy shit. And I'm only working on it for myself. I'm not like trying to predict things for other people right now, but some crazy shit. Just like, you know, moments of revelation. And maybe no, I'm definitely psychic. I'm not taking that back, but I'm also like hearing I'm like hearing my guides more than ever. Let me tell you this story. So I've been like very much daydreaming about this big picture goal that I have, that I've always been like, oh, that's the end goal. But recently I was like, why would that be the end goal? Why isn't that just the goal? Like the next goal, you know, this idea around where we live, how we live, you know, having property and farm animals. And there's a whole vision that I'll share with everyone eventually in the near future, I'm sure. But I've been daydreaming about this. And it's been coming in really, really clear, like some of the visuals, the idea that there's more to it than, as you would, knowing me, would know, there's much more to it than us just like having a property. There's a whole business structure and like spiritual thing around all of it. Okay. So I've been daydreaming about this. You also know, because you went with me to buy the first pair of sneakers that I've bought in 14 years, that I've been walking in the morning. I needed Maddie's assistance to buy sneakers. She's a sneaker guru. And
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I just know, you know.
Well, in my
Simple
world,
stuff.
you're a sneaker guru. I didn't know where to start. But anyway, got my sneakers. I'm walking.
Got some on clouds. Shout out.
Yes. Yeah, shout out. I'm loving them. Walking in my neighborhood in the mornings. I'm having this walk one day, just looking around at the houses, you know, looking at some cute little houses. Mind you, these houses are like smushed together side by side. No space, which I'm envisioning this whole life with a farm and all these, and a retreat space and all these things. And as I'm walking, I'm kind of like starting to think, I'm like, oh, that house is kind of cute. Like there's a cute front yard. I could see kind of in that like weird state of like, oh, I could see that maybe working for a little bit for us. And fucking clear as day, a voice goes, nah, sweetie, that ain't it.
What?
Yes. As my guides, my intuition, whatever, is being like, nah, girl, don't forget what the dream is. And this is not it. Like, do not get yourself caught in thinking that this would work, because this is not it. Keep your eye on the prize of the big vision.
Like you heard a voice.
Yeah, like not outside of, like, it was a voice in my head, but it wasn't me. Like, I'm not calling myself sweetie, you know?
Your guides speak to you like that.
Yes. It was, and okay, there's been a few times where it's happened clear as day, but it was just a moment. It was really funny because I was like, oh yeah, duh. Like, that's not the dream. But also, like, just the attitude that this voice had was like so fun. But I don't know if I ever told you this. I had this voice once. So when I was like, you know, I bartended through college, and one night, probably a year or two before I met Dennis, who is my husband, and he's been my partner for almost 15 years. Didn't know him. No, not even on my radar in any way. We were living in completely different cities. I was bartending one night, and there's a band playing. I didn't know the band. They weren't particularly good, not particularly attractive, like nothing. But I'm just sitting there kind of dazing off, daydreaming, watching the band, like staring toward the band. And I literally a voice said to me, or in my head go, I'm going to marry a bass player. I didn't even believe in marriage at the time. Like, I was like not into getting married, anything like that. A voice said, I'm going to marry a bass player. Fast forward a few years, many years until marriage.
Married
Dennis
a bass player.
is a bass player.
Oh my God.
But that one was just so, there's moments of that where it's like so loud and so out of the blue. I'm like, I'm going to marry a bass player? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not even looking to get married. I might have even had a boyfriend at the time. I probably did. I had a serious boyfriend when I lived in Buffalo and was bartending. Mate. And he wasn't a bass player. But there's moments like that are so fun, where your guides or whatever it is are just like, hello, can you hear me? Let me shout this to you. And that's where the past few weeks I've been getting like it's been so loud that I have things that I just like can't ignore, and it's really fun and cool. And I'm like been inspired by my conversation with Kate and her book and many other things, but it all came at the right time to like just fucking listen for once. Chill out.
Wow.
And listen.
Trust that deeper knowing, that inner knowing, your higher self speaking to you.
Yeah.
She
and
knows.
I don't know, is it my higher, I think it's a combination of higher self, guides, whatever you believe in, aliens, maybe. Please be aliens.
Okay. Well, I love this, and you're clearly inspired by the guru herself, who's on the podcast today, who Brooke had a conversation with. How did your conversation go with Kate?
Oh my God, it was incredible. So first of all, to give you guys a little bit of information, Mads and I are testing some different formats for interviews. So there might be a few coming up where it's just me or just Maddie. And this one was just me with Kate Van Horn, who is a psychic and intuitive tarot reader. And she is just, as you would say, she is a legend. Like, she is... Okay, I'm going to make a really bold statement, but I think once you guys hear this and start to, follow Kate and get into her world, I really think she is a game changer for the healing and spiritual industry, in that she's so freaking grounded and feels so practical and normal and elevated that her saying she's a psychic, it would be like someone saying oh, I'm a doctor or I'm a teacher. I really think she's someone who's going to make things that much more normal and lead us to a place where we literally are walking around saying cool, I'm a coach, I'm a healer, where all of those things are just as normal as being a teacher or a doctor or a nurse or any of that.
Yeah, because she fully embraces it. She's like, I just knew this from a young age, and it wasn't that I was like, oh, I decided to be this. It chose me. And I just found in my deeper knowing that this is my path. And she was so in touch with her intuition, that she just pursued this for herself, for the greater good. She's like, I can help people. This is what I'm here to do. And I will.
Yeah. And so she shares a little bit of her story. She also, it's a very empowering conversation. She's an empowering person in that she also has an approach of hey, anyone or most people could do this, and you have the ability to. You have an inner voice. Everyone has guides. You have intuition. You have the ability to kind of hone this and figure it out for yourself. And I think that's what she actually wants, more than people coming to her for answers. She wants to empower people to really find it for themselves. And I know you have the book. We went to the pre-launch event together. I don't know. Have you started reading it at all?
Oh my gosh, no. Only because I've got a couple on the go at the moment, but Kate's going to be fast forwarded to the front of the line.
No pressure, babe. No pressure. You got to come to it at your own time. You got to be excited about it, because for me, tarot was not something in the past years. I have different cards and different decks that are just feel good words and pictures, and I've been pulling cards for a long time, but tarot, I never bought a tarot deck, and tarot decks are very specific. It's a very specific set of cards. I never bought a tarot deck because I was like, oh, there's a whole process to it, and you have to pull the cards in a certain way, and they're not easy. A lot of the cards I get, it says follow your dreams on the card or something. It's all the words you need are on the card. Tarot, you have to really understand the meaning and look them up, and I was like, it's too much work for me. That's not what I want out of a card deck. But then a little bit before my conversation with Kate, I started to feel drawn toward the tarot. Obviously, she and I have been becoming friends lately. I knew she had a book coming out, and it just was dead on the right time for me to be I'm willing to look into this and give it a try. Maddie.
Yes.
The shit that I have been pulling through my tarot cards. I got a deck fucking 2 weeks ago, okay? Same thing. Started reading Kate's book. I'm only 3 chapters into her book. Started pulling my own cards based on this beginning exercise she recommends. And I just looked back because I wanted to explain it to you guys. Turns out I haven't been doing it right. Haven't been doing what she said, which I thought I had, but I've done it my own way.
You would make up your own rules anyway.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I haven't been doing that exactly, but what I've been doing is working. And I think that's another part of how she shares things. It's do what works for you. There's no like prescribed specific way. And so I'm pulling I've split the cards up in a certain way that she shares. I'm pulling a couple cards a day, asking a specific question, and then reading the meanings out of the books, and then journaling, channeling. And dude, the shit that's coming through is wild. It's wild. It's so powerful. I can't wait for you to get into it and like but I think it has to be like, you have to be at a place where like, I'm excited for this because it's just coming through so quickly. And I was very much at that place, and I was very surprised by it because I'd never been excited by tarot before. But this practice is going to change my life for sure.
Wow. Whoa. I mean, I'm coming around. You know, the exposure to it has just begun. So it's a step-by-step process.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. And I have to tell you, so I just want to read something for you because we're going to link a few of the decks that Kate recommended. I got this one called the Fountain Tarot. If you're watching video, you can see I'm holding it up.
The Fountain Tarot.
The Fountain Tarot. We'll link the one she recommended, but I've been having the issues with my heart. For any of you who watch our Instagram, I went and got a bunch of testing done. I saw Maddie this weekend and was telling her that I had missed a call from my doctor last week. And so I went on and read the results myself, and like, never a good idea. So I talked to my doctor this morning, and we have a longer call set up, but he was like, okay, nothing super concerning. Like, there's some stuff that's acutely concerning. You'll have to get checked every year. He's like, I want to do a few more tests. I want to do a CT scan just to make sure some things. And it's good news, but I kind of hung up being like, fuck, then what's going on? Because this pain in my heart is real. Like, I feel it, you know? And so it's like, could it just be stress? I asked the cards. So I sat down before we decided to record, and I asked the cards, what's going on with my heart and how do I fix it? And I'm not going to share everything with you. I pulled 3 cards. I just want to share a couple words that I've pulled. What is going on with my heart and how can I fix it? The first card I pulled was the Star, and the theme of the Star is all is well.
Oh,
the Star invites you to rest and heal.
Oh.
She is a glowing reminder from the universe that everything is in order and occurs in its own time. You are entering a stage of calm, so use it wisely to identify and commit to what's important. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Is that not wild? Meaning a time of healing, hope, unexpected guidance, reconciliation between the past and the present. I mean, okay. And then one other, I pulled 3 cards, but I'm not going to share. This other one was just like so dead on too. Oh, wait. 2 of Swords, inner conflict. So I think that probably the root of the heart stuff is stress, right? That's like kind of where this is all going, and the only conclusion. And, you know, I think we'll get into another time, maybe some of the things that have piled up over a decade that have led to that. But literally, this is the first sentence of this card. Okay, I said, what is going on with my heart and how do I fix it? There is a conflict between your heart and your mind, and the strategies you have in place are unsustainable. Like, dude.
Oh, it's plain and simple.
Yes.
So direct.
And that's how the answers have come from the cards. It's not exactly like future telling, but it's like my relationship with them, or my experience has been like, it just like pulls together things you already knew in a story and in a way that allows you to hear it a little bit differently and like reinforce, you know, and give you confidence and be like, okay, now I feel good about like doing something about this or understanding it. But it's wild. Like, I feel like you can't make this shit up. It's
you
so
can't
cool.
make this shit up. Wow.
No.
That is kind of wild. We love that. Now I'm intrigued. I want to go pull some cards.
Just trying to rope you in, you know?
I've got some questions. Get back to
and
you.
It's just fun. And Kate talks about that in our episode, and talks about how they can be kind of like a catalyst and a tool. And if you're, we can probably hear the same things if we sat down and meditated or did some other kind of work. But sometimes you're in a rut, or sometimes you just want something easier, or sometimes you just want a message reinforced. And it's a really like fun, cool way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I love that. And I'm excited to hear this episode with you and Kate.
Yes. Thanks. And she talks about being a psychic, which is cool. Who doesn't want to like ask, I was like a little giddy about that and like wanted to ask her all the things about life as a psychic, because who hasn't wanted to be psychic, or like, have at least our vision of what a psychic is.
I think maybe, Brooke, this might be your future. I think this whole inspiration from Kate is like actually you just on this path to becoming it. This is the new you. From CEO to psychic. I see it.
Oh, girl, tagline. That is a good tagline. Oh, my God. Write that down.
Remember that.
Write that down. And then
I'm the psychic here.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe once I'm a psychic, you'll finally listen to me.
Nah.
Nah.
Still gonna do what I want. Learn the hard lessons.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what life's all about. All right, guys, enjoy this one. Hope you get a lot out of it. Kate Van Horn. You can find her on Instagram at Kate Van Horn. Kate, we'll link her. I actually don't know I think her handle has some periods in it, so we'll link her exact handle. Her book is The Inner Tarot. Obviously, I highly recommend it. I'm 3 chapters in and it's been life-changing. And she is just a magical, special being. You can follow us and hang out with Maddie and I at the Expanders Club on Instagram and TikTok. And you're definitely going to want to be following along this next month while Madeline goes on her Australian tour, so we can all live vicariously through her. Kate, hello. How are you, my friend?
So good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, same. You are in a very busy season right now. So let me ask you that again. How are you?
I am a mixture of many things. I am definitely in a busy season. At the time of recording this, I'm sitting at like 2 weeks before my publication date for my first book. And
Wild.
Don't get me wrong, it's very exciting, but I am scared shitless. Is it okay to curse? I can get some going there
Absolutely.
anyway.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm very excited at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, wow. First of all, I know you've poured your heart into this book, and I can only imagine just the experience of writing it and the anticipation of getting out into the world. And also you're planning a really incredible book tour, and I'm sure just all the things. What is it, if you don't mind me asking, what is it bringing up for you?
I think I'm just really nervous about the judgment of it, because it is so much of my, I don't want to say expertise, but my work. Yeah, my expertise for the last 10 years, my focus for the last 10 years has been around the tarot cards. And that's what this book is about. But I also peppered in a lot of personal story. And I think that is the vulnerable part, is like curious what that will look like, and if it'll be received well, and if others will feel my intention through the book itself, because my work that I've been doing for the last few years is really intimate. It's like I'm very close with all my clients. I get a chance to have that back and forth conversation. And when someone has your book or a physical product of yours in their hand, and there is no back and forth dialogue, you don't know how they're receiving it, if they're understanding it the way you meant it to be. It's very intimidating. And it's such a surrender, like some people will love it, some people will not connect with it. And I'm just like preparing myself for that reality.
Yeah, such a big lesson or opportunity to let go of controlling other people's reaction to you or how you impact them, which is like, God, on the global scale you're about to be on. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, we'll see.
But
and I think too, I'm sure as an entrepreneur you will relate to this, but the longer something takes project-wise, like the more anticipation. I think I'm used to a lot shorter cycles in my business, in my work, in my day-to-day. And this was like 2.5 years. So the longer it drags on, the more you have like a lot of emphasis on the finish line.
Totally. And just a roller coaster ride, I'm sure. And it will continue to be. And I can't wait to hear on the other side of launching in your book tour the lessons that you've learned, maybe some of the triggers and trauma that you've faced and hopefully let go of. And just this is going to be, and probably already has been, a life-changing experience for you.
Definitely.
It's so cool. You're incredible. Can you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yes. So my name's Kate, and I am a psychic and intuitive tarot reader. I say that I read people, cards, and spaces. I like to blend intuition and intention. And I also believe that our intuition is not only a compass, to help us live a really beautiful, fulfilling life, but also to make peace with and find new ways to do the inner work. So it's really a way to kind of come home to ourselves too. And I've been doing that through anything from teaching somatic movement to offering psychic readings to now I've been dabbling in feng shui and reading people's homes as well and optimizing that. Like pretty much if it's spiritual and energetic, I'm here for it.
I love that. And I love that about you. And I can't wait to get into all of the pieces that excite you. But I want to share something with you. And I don't know if you realize this, that for me, my experience, every time you show up and you do this on your Instagram, and I've experienced it in person a few times, but every time you show up and say who you are and what you do, it is an expansive moment for the people around you. There's just something so beautiful about the way you present yourself, and also the like groundedness and pride in what you do is incredible. And you're presenting, you literally just said, I am a psychic, which is, I know in your world that's so normal, but like that is mind blowing and amazing.
Yeah,
and it's a word that probably also, I can't imagine the judgment, good and bad, around that word the moment you say that you're a psychic. And so I'd love to dig into that, but whatever judgment you've experienced in the past, girl, you've let that go, or at least it feels that way, because you say it in such an empowered way that it is an expansive moment for other people to like own their thing, own themselves, own what they are good at and what they're putting out into the world, and just like say it with authority.
Oh my God, it's
So
so fun
thank
to
you for
record
that.
things with a friend because that is so kind. And that is like, and thank you for seeing that, because I do feel that way. Like, and it hasn't always been that way, but I do think that there's this tone of integrity that I'm able to say and share with my
Yes.
work. So when I'm meeting someone new, I don't get as much of the judgment or the silly comments anymore, because I think people can feel how seriously I take it.
Yes.
And it's been a journey to get there for sure. And like you said, there's been judgments along the way, but it's been really fun to navigate those strange interactions too, and like learn the way that I want to like respond and
I'm
kind of,
sure.
let people know, like, back off. This is my thing, but it doesn't have to be everyone's thing. So if anyone's listening and they're like, I don't know if I can get down with psychic stuff, I totally get it. It's strange for sure, but it's also really special.
Yes, it is very special. And I hope you don't mind us digging into this, because I think people are going to be really curious about this. And I think from a place of like, I think a lot of us feel like we have strong intuition, not sure where the line of intuition and psychic come in, or of experience is in life where we're like, oh, I predicted that, or I knew that was going to happen. But what has the journey to being so confident and grounded in being a psychic, what has that looked like? Like, did you just wake up one day and we're like, hey, I'm a psychic. Cool. Let's go.
Here I am. No. I'll give you the consolidated story, but essentially, a lot of people ask, did you always know this growing up? Did you know you were intuitive? Because I do recognize that a lot of intuitives I've met did have a lot of those kind of supernatural, really interesting interactions as a kid, because it makes sense. We are the most intuitive version of ourselves then, before we're really conditioned and programmed to be what we have to show up as and the adult that we need to present as. And I look back, and my childhood was really difficult. I went through childhood trauma, and which later in my early 20s I was diagnosed with PTSD in result of that. And with that in mind, like I look back and I realize I was a highly sensitive and
Mm,
anxious child. And
mm-hmm.
therefore, I probably was intuitive, but I wasn't able to process that yet.
Yeah.
Fast
Yeah.
forward, when I went through kind of the deep healing work, went through a shitload of therapy, a ton of treatment around my eating disorder, PTSD, and so on. Then I had the spiritual layer come in after that because, you know, having moved through a pretty difficult season of multiple years of deep work, I honestly was just looking for like the reason why this had happened to me. Like I was
Yeah.
like, there has to
Yeah.
be a reason that I had to grow this resilient,
Yeah.
from a young age. And I know you relate to that. And I think that for me, it just was like, I'm trying to discover who I am and what makes me unique. And it started with the tarot cards. I started working with them, enjoying them, feeling really inspired by them. Because I think I lived many, many years numbing out too, my
Mm-hmm.
senses in general. I didn't want to feel anything. I wanted to just stuff it down and pretend it wasn't there. And as the feelings started to surface, I needed a way to reprogram them and reprocess them and make them softer and more beautiful rather than filled with shame.
Yeah.
So that was very much my experience spiritually first. And I think it's important because I don't think I would have been able to tap into psychic gifts without doing that layer and that piece to ground myself and understand my own complexity before inviting in the energy of other people's.
So the tarot
So
cards were the tarot was kind of like an entry point for you.
yeah, definitely an
Wow,
entry
that's
point
pretty
because
cool.
it was really neat because I think too I needed something physical. Like I wanted to
Yes.
flip a card over and see it and validate
Mm-hmm.
it and not just think, because I'll be honest, I was a skeptic. Like I'm a pretty I'm not the most like woo-woo person actually.
Tru-
Like in
Truly, you are so grounded.
I
It is kind of wild, actually.
it's kind of weird. Like that is my favorite thing. My fiance, whenever we meet someone, he's like, guys, she's not that spiritual. Like
I swear she's normal.
yeah, he's like, she really is not that crazy. Like, I am my own witchy self, but not in the way that I think many of us assume. But anyway, the tarot felt really validating because I could pull a card, I could see it, I could understand that it was representing what I'm really going through. And then over time, I started like, connecting with people I was a yoga instructor at the time. So I was sort of in the wellness industry and space. I had
Mm-hmm.
started an event company and we were connecting with a lot of cool people. And a couple like psychics would stop me on the street and be like, you realize you're psychic, right? Like literally stopping me and trying to tell me, like, wake
That's
up to it. And
amazing.
then,
Yeah.
I think many of us have our like first couple psychic experiences with like ghosts and things like that. And that was me too, like those moments of holy shit, this is really happening. And then I just had to refine it and hone it over time.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, the word can be so loaded, right? Like we are kids that
Yeah.
grew up in the 90s, like, and with like Miss Cleo's psychic hotline. And, certainly where I grew up anyways, and you're from the East Coast too, right?
Yeah.
You're like, that's what a psychic was, or some
Totally.
like random, you go into the nearest city, and some like random corner building with like crazy lights.
It's like a scam. It's a scam.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm sure, like I said, it's a loaded word. And I want to tell you about, I mean, I've believed in, I think when you have such severe childhood trauma, you begin your seeking journey early, and you're just looking for anything to help you understand and move through the world in an easier way, a manageable way, right? So I have been into all of this stuff for a long time, and gosh, years ago, probably like 10 years ago, I was going through something and was like, I need a psychic. I got a psychic and I've seen many psychics over time. I don't know that I've had like, and I've never experienced one like you, which has, been a really great experience for me.
Good.
But I was going through something. It was early days of the business. It was something really awful that I was going through, and I just like couldn't. I needed answers. Like I needed to know things were going to be okay, right? And I don't know if that's always what you should be going to a psychic for, but hopefully you'll tell us like the best practices when talking to a psychic. But I got a recommendation from a friend, and it was in the Valley. I was living on the West Side. It was like in Sherman Oaks or something. You know, we don't drive when you live on the West Side.
I was going to say,
you don't
that was a
go
long
to the Valley.
distance psychic.
Yes, yes. I really needed help. So pull up to this guy's place. I mean, I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I don't know what I was thinking. Pull up to this like dark back house
Mm-hmm.
and knock on the door, and a voice like calls out to like tell me to come in. Go into this tiny house that's filled with cigarette smoke and like cat urine.
Oh,
go into this tiny house, sit on. I mean, I was desperate. These weren't even red flags to me. Okay, like
that's when you know.
I was yeah, exactly. That's when you know you're desperate. Go in. This guy didn't even get up, sitting in his chair. It has me sit on the like chair or couch across from him. Lights up a cigarette, smoking the cigarette, and we're like 5 feet apart. And he's smoking a cigarette while giving me the psychic reading. And there were parts of it that were incredible. I mean, you know, I had my notebook, was writing it all down. There were moments, and there's a moment that I laugh about that was really incredible, where he was like, oh, I see two, and I can't wait for you to tell me, reflect on this experience. But he was like, I see 2 older women, and they're handing you a jar of cucumbers. Like, and they're saying, you need to eat. And I was like, oh my God, that's my grandma and great grandma. Like, I used to eat pickles for like the holidays. Like the pickles were like the dish that I would put out on the table, and I would eat like.
It's a really bad earthquake.
Oh my God.
Like,
it's
really
happening here
bad.
now too. Yeah. Oh my God, it's still going.
Yeah, that was a long one.
It's still going here.
It's still going. All the dogs are barking outside. That's the psychic.
He's like, he's pissed.
How
I'm
dare
talking
you
shit
talk
about him on a
me.
podcast.
Oh, sorry, I
my
didn't mean.
God. That was insane.
That was insane. Sorry, I was texting Cam. He's
Okay.
in the Valley, actually. That was so crazy. Anyway,
That was actually.
that was
that
definitely
noise?
worse.
Was that noise in your background dogs barking, or was it moving something?
No,
in your house?
it was my I have like a bathroom attached to my office, and it's like a sliding glass shower door.
Wild. It's so weird it hit you a few seconds before it hit me too.
Yeah.
Dude.
Because you're where? Oh yeah, you're in
Long Beach. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. All right. We're doing an episode. Anyway. The most spiritual episode we've done yet, and a massive earthquake hits. I don't know what that means.
That was wild.
Okay. All right. Well, things are happening on the planet.
Things are happening. Centering ourselves and coming back. You were talking about this one moment. Honestly, there were cucumbers involved.
So the only thing that has stuck with me this whole time of what he said, because there were like names and timelines and things, and I was like, I don't know, none of this really makes sense, but like I want an answer on this thing so badly, and I don't even know if I actually felt like I got the answer. But the one thing that stuck with me, and actually like I think about it often and it brings me joy, is he was like, there's two older women, and one talks a lot, and they're like kind of loud, and they're very insistent that you need to eat, and they're handing me like a dish of cucumbers that you need to eat. And it actually was I was like, oh my God, that's my grandmother and great grandma for sure. And cucumbers, like it's pickles. Like they used to buy me like pickles was my thing as a kid. Like I loved the pickles before the holiday dinners. They would be like, don't fill up on the pickles, you know? And so it was a weird ass experience. I remember leaving and I just smelled like cigarette smoke, and it was so disgusting. And
that is a wild
was confused. Like, what was the purpose of all of that?
Was anything else accurate, or just mostly the pickles?
I don't remember anything else being accurate. Like I remember there were names, and in the moment I was like, oh, I'll write all this down, and when it all comes true or all makes sense, like then I'll look back. And I don't think it ever did. It was like, is there a person by this name? And I was like, not that I know right now. I'm like, what about this name? And I was like, no. Yeah. So the experience was strange, and but that one memory is really fun, and it like brings me some kind of comfort
Brings you
in
joy.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, and like, hey, they're right there. They're looking over me, whether it's true or not. But that was like the first real experience I had, and I don't think that's the kind of experience you're giving
No.
your
No,
clients.
not typically. However, I, in college, had very similar experiences to you. I would go to this woman's house. I wouldn't tell my friends because I knew they would be like, "What are you doing? Like spending money on this?" Like, and I
Yes.
would go to her home and it was like out of a movie, like the crystal balls and the tapestries and all the
Oh, a
stuff,
crystal
and
ball.
yeah, I was like, this is so cool. And I look back and she was feeding me, I was always asking about some guy I was dating or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to work out? And she was not accurate in any way. But I look back and realize like there was this intrigue, right? Like I was
Yeah.
interested. I felt really called to go. And I think we all need that like first interaction to be kind of whatever it's meant to be, even if it's imperfect. And that's so funny. And it also goes to show that like anyone can be psychic and that some people, well, I say that and I've been being more mindful about how I say that. Anyone has intuition, and I believe anyone
Yep.
can go through the steps to strengthen their psychic gifts. Do I think every person who has a connection to spirit in that way is feeling ready or grounded or prepared to hold space? I think that's up to them to decide,
Mm-hmm.
and in this case, maybe he wasn't quite ready for holding safe space.
Well, he certainly thought he was.
Yeah.
But also, as I've evolved on my spiritual journey, I have seen time and time again these interactions, whether it's with a psychic, a Akashic record reader, an astrologer, you kind of name it, like have more become reinforcements of
Yeah.
like an extra gut check, or like,
Mhm.
okay, that call was good. That felt good because I actually already knew a lot of things they said, and I just needed someone else to hear it
Yeah. It's
or to
that.
say
It's a
it.
gut
Yeah.
check. It's affirmation of what we already know or confirmation of what we already know. I think what's interesting too is my clients will say, I'm walking away feeling calmer and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
surprised by anything. And I'm
Yes.
like, you really shouldn't leave a reading shocked. If you're shocked, I think occasionally a little sprinkle of surprise, of course, we enjoy that feeling of the unknown a bit, that what's going to happen? How's this going to play out? But generally, I think one of my favorite things is I can't think of another example, but it's funny because I just wrote a book. But I love connecting with a client and being like, you have a book in you, your soul's carrying
That's
a book
cool.
or something
Yes.
else, and or whatever it is. And they're like, I've never told a soul that I want to do that. And I think that's
Yes.
the way to show like
Yes.
you know yourself. You do know
Yeah.
yourself very well. And to have someone, an outsider, look in and be able to see it is so, it's just really nice. It's confirming.
And the permission that grants is
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I do have a book. And this person that
Yeah.
I'm coming to because I think that they're powerful, they're validating that. And like, maybe I should figure out the next steps to make that happen.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
pretty cool. Do you have any stories like that you could share? Like, I'm sure you've seen people through so many transitions.
So many
Like,
things. I think some of my favorites are working with women on their fertility journey, actually, like really welcoming in their spirit baby. And just because I know what a sacred experience that is, and just the way that spirit is so smart in creating that perfect divine
mm-hmm.
connection between mother and child. So even though I'm not a mom, just to be like, I think because of the sacredness of it, I feel really lucky to be like witnessing it, and just be
Yeah.
involved. But yeah, I think anything related to the projects we want to do and the mark we want to leave on the world, I have a lot of fun stories about that. It's funny that you mentioned also like the pickles, because I was going to say, I've noticed that our guides love to feed us. Like the amount of times I've shown up and spirit guides or ancestors, angels are bringing some sort of like, food. It's a very common theme. They just want to like host us, It's really
That's
cute.
that's amazing. Well, you think of
Yeah,
like this loving being a lot of times, grandmotherly figure,
totally.
or like anyone who's showcasing love. A lot of times we do it through food. So that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. But I had a client today and he's an empty nester and was asking a little bit about his wife and him and some things coming up. And as far as, how to enrich an experience
Mm-hmm.
as they move forward, hobbies, interests, and like just random things. I was like, does she happen to knit in like your eldest son's room? And he was like, she does. Like, why do you see that? And I'm like, that's her happy place. Like, leave her alone when she's there. So things like that. It's just kind of random. And I think honestly, those details are not even like the crux of the reading. It's really not the point of the reading. I think it's honestly to make someone feel like, oh, okay, there's something here. If she's able to see my wife doing that thing in that one
Yes,
room where she does it, like I can believe the rest because there's confirmation in that sense too of a little bit of trust that those details and the way that they show up just make it more fun.
Yeah, I love that. And how do those things show up for you?
So, when it comes to psychic abilities, it's the clairs. So, our clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. There's just like our regular senses, our ability to see and feel and hear, touch, smell. We have the same psychically. And the thing about it is, they're just more subtle. They're not as obvious. So, it takes time for us to learn what they're going to feel like and recognize when they're coming through and trust them when they do. So, I try to, when I'm teaching different clairs, like clairaudience is the ability to hear psychically. I like to remind my students and my clients that it's not going to come in as this different voice and really loud speaker.
Yeah.
It's actually going to probably come through like a thought, but you'll notice the way your body responds to it, or even kind of like the direction or what side of your body it seems to be coming from. They're very subtle. It's like a soft whisper. And that is difficult sometimes for people who want a very black and white answer of, am I doing it right or am I not?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you can't prove it, but you just kind of have to feel into it and learn your way of accessing it.
Yeah. What I imagine you have to be, and I know you've been doing this for years, so you've probably really honed it, but I imagine you have to be pretty protective over your own energy, maybe even your rituals, how you go about your day. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so definitely yes. I always go through a protection ritual in the morning or right before a client, whatever kind of makes most sense. But I will reground myself before a client. So I enjoy just as an empath, even if you're not doing psychic work, doing some sort of protective visualization or grounding ritual in the morning is honestly just a great thing to do to not drain or deplete yourself. So I move through that, and it's something that I've taught some people how to do it and create one for their own. I'm also happy to share a link. I have like a free guidance, daily meditation that way if
Yeah,
anyone here wants
amazing.
it. But that is something I do really routinely. And on top of that, a disconnection process is important too. So recognizing like, okay, I've talked about plenty of things with a couple people today. How can I release that and know that it's
Yes.
not mine to hold? It's not my responsibility to carry. That looks usually more physical for me. So a long walk outside, my feet on the grass, a salt bath, like definitely more, eating a really nourishing meal. All of that is a great way to disconnect and refuel my body after energy work.
I feel like a disconnecting ceremony is actually something we all like. It should just be a part of our like bedtime ritual,
Yeah.
right? Like wash your face, brush
Should.
your teeth, disconnect everyone's energy that is attached to
Shut
you
it
throughout the
down.
day.
Yeah. Shut it down. I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's the question like? There's got to be a question you get asked the most often. Do you have like a roll your eyes question that comes up?
Are you reading me right now? Are you reading me as we speak? Like, no, I'm actually not that interested, to be honest. Yeah,
I'm
notice
reading
how
you
my
and
voice. Yeah, notice my voice got deeper. This is from women. Oh my God, I always wanted to do that. How do you do that? That's a female response. Well, I shouldn't just put that blanket assumption, but many women
well, that's okay.
ask me that. And then men will be like, so are you reading me? No, I'm not, sir.
I'm reading you and you suck.
Yeah, actually, I don't even have to read you. This told me everything.
Yes. Yeah, because I'm sure it comes into play when you're, obviously professionally is one thing when someone's sitting down with you and has shown up and is ready to have a reading from you. But like, yeah, how does it come up in life and how do you navigate that?
Yeah. It's funny because I want to read for my family and friends. I really do. And I will pull cards for them and I'll give them my intuitive gut feeling. But it is really hard when you start to, and I even notice this honestly with the clients I've worked with routinely for years. The closer I get with them, the more it's just processing together and having really honest conversation. I can't pick up on people who I love and know deeply because
Mm.
I'm wanting a certain thing, but I want
Yes.
like my friend to feel a certain way or
Yeah.
find the partner or do whatever. And I think that's been in the more recent years, something that I've struggled with is just like I want to share what I do with them more and have them experience it, but I do let them know it's going to look different for us. I know too much about you. It's not
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
this like surprise. And I think that that's, where it's a little different. And then, now I'm in a partnership, but before when I was dating and in this world, that was a whole other circus of sorts.
Oh God, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure. I mean, for all of us, intuition when you're in situations that your brain really wants to go one way,
Mm-hmm.
but you're into and you're trying to use intuition, like how hard, I mean, how many life lessons has I'm sure I've learned, and I'm sure everyone listening has learned, of like your brain's pushing for something, in your heart, in your soul, that voice, you're getting whispers about something different, and you just kind of refuse to listen to it.
Totally. That's part of
And
the
I think for
lesson
a lot of
too.
us, we probably don't have the same muscle that you do in trusting it. And so it's like always in hindsight where you're like, damn, I knew immediately that was the wrong decision, or that was the wrong person, or,
Shoulda,
you
coulda,
know,
woulda kind of energy.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you go
I
to a
think the
psychic and you ask them.
Totally. That's when you get a third party's advice. But I do think like, and that's the same thing. Like our therapist is able to see something, the pattern before we can, and things like that. That's all very normal, I think. But I also tell my clients when they start to see something repeat itself, let's use romantic partnership as the example. They're like, why do I keep choosing the wrong ones? It's like I do, from what I've witnessed in everybody that I've read for, which has been quite a few over the years, it's like things happen in divine timing. I promise. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is
Mm-hmm.
you can't deny the fact that it lines up in the time and place and space that it's meant to. So when you start to like really believe that, like deeply to your core, that what is meant for me will not miss me. It might not show up as soon as I would like it to, and I can be
Yeah.
disappointed that it's not here yet. I can be frustrated that it's not here yet. But if it is meant for you, it will not miss you. And I think that alone, when I just integrated that into my belief system, like life got easier. Life got a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier.
Yeah. But there's a lot of steps. I'm at that place now too, where I'm integrating
Mm-hmm.
and truly believing that, not just like, we definitely, or I had a phase where I would say that, not believing it, but I just like wanted to believe it so badly. And when you do start to believe it, it is really freeing, and it does completely change your perspective on life.
It does. It does.
Which is it's a really incredible place to be. And it's work, right? It's kind of work to like stay there and be there. But if someone is looking to start to really trust their intuition or lean into their psychic skills, what are the one or two big things of advice that you would give them?
So my advice to some might feel very intuitive 101, but my two recommendations are to learn how to ground and connect with your body, because your physical safety when opening yourself up as a channel is really important. What you're doing is you're asking for more energy to come through your body and human experience. You want to process more and feel more deeply, and that's a lot. Without even being psychic, we feel a hell of a lot. So I think
Yes.
just knowing that your body needs to be fully grounded and fully safe and able to recognize what those limits are. So just starting to get more comfortable with learning what your body finds supportive, the type of movement, the type of rituals, the time of day that you want to do this. In the mornings, I'm very open. By the end of the day, my body's
Mm-hmm.
ready to like be done.
Yeah.
And some people are the opposite. They're night owls and their psychic abilities really come alive at night. So learning your body's cues. Second to that, I would say inner child work. I think inner child work, imagination and intuition are very much one and the same. So the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you can daydream and make believe something, see a vision of something that's not real, just like kids make up stories, That's your clairvoyance. That's your ability to see psychically what's not in front of you. So inner child work is so helpful because A, it drops some of the perfectionism. Kids are willing to
Yeah.
be wrong. Kids are willing to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And you need that when you start using your intuition, and the playfulness and the joy and the kind of open-mindedness that a child brings when they look at the world is really important. So consider your inner child like your first spirit guide.
I love that. And I'm starting to understand why you feel so grounded and such like an old soul and so safe, because I can imagine the work that you've done to work up to facing those things every day, opening yourself
Mhm.
up in those ways. And that is incredible. And what a generous gift to be willing to do that so often in the name of serving other people. Like it, I've never heard it shared that way. And it's actually so incredible, Kate.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
I
really
mean, I don't know if I could do that every day.
yeah. It's certainly a lot, I won't lie, but it's been really fun. It's like I really absolutely love it. Like I'm fascinated. Like the minute I get
Mm-hmm.
into a reading, I'm like, just enjoying the fact that we're piecing everything together and we're coming to terms with certain things, closing certain loops,
Mm-hmm.
opening certain things. Like it feels like we're kind of in this playground of energy, so to speak. And I do, we haven't touched on it too much, but my inner child is who I do this work for. So yeah, I do consider
Yeah.
myself of service in some way, but I do it for her also because
Mm.
I think she enjoys it and she feels like she's really making her mark in some way, and she's
Aw.
showing up for people, and it's fun. Like I think there was once a time where the idea of going into meditation and connecting with her would make me just like sob, and now she's like
Yeah.
on my altar and like is my best friend.
Yeah. She's cool. I like her. Seems amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Um, what are the other, so I know you use tarot as a tool and I want to get into that further, but what are the other tools that you pull on for your readings and your interactions? Because I can imagine when you're sharing
Mhm.
this information and opening things up for someone, like that's a lot of responsibility. And I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot comes up and comes out for them. So what are some other tools or teachings that you lean on?
Yeah. So I use a lot of automatic writing in my session. So I actually channel before meeting with them because I have found, and this is my process, I have found that it's a little bit easier for me to do all of that first and really drop in first, gather the information, channel the notes, and then bring that to the reading so that we can just talk human to
Mm,
human. And
mm,
I'm not then channeling in real time. I can then hold the space for them as they receive it and
yeah.
care for them if they need me to be more delicate, if they need me to slow down, if they need me to speed up. I can kind of serve as a coach at that point,
Yeah.
relaying the message. So I do a lot of automatic writing, which is channeled writing is just stream of consciousness writing. I also use music when I channel. I find that silence doesn't work for me. So I need to have something playing in the background. I have a specific playlist that really kind of drops me into that space. Other things that I do, I've mentioned that movement's a big deal. I think right before I connect with someone's energy, I like moving my body. I'll just kind of shake my limbs, I'll jump up and
Mm-hmm.
down, I like rev myself up a bit. And I try to sort of like dust off any energy of my day so far so that I can be fully present for them.
Yeah. That's interesting. And it's so interesting that you channel a lot of the information before you even get in front of
Mhm.
the client, which would lead me to ask then, because I think, the tarot it's an incredible tool and it's an incredible visual for the client. But is the tarot just reinforcing what you already know? Is it a tool for safety for you to kind of put up a little bit of a block and be like, well, the
Mhm.
cards are saying
It didn't come from me. It's
yeah.
all of the above. No, that's a great point. It's all of the above because, and I didn't mention too, some of the things that I've worked on to learn is like anything from mediumship to Akashic records to, and
Mm,
now I think I have my own process where kind of just using all of my resources in the process that I like to use. So
yeah.
I don't try to pinpoint where exactly every piece of channeled
Yeah.
information is coming from. I'm just trusting that my guides are giving it to me in a way that I'm meant to receive it. But to your question and point, yeah, it's a little bit of both. I do think they create this nice boundary. There's something that we can look at when things start to feel uncomfortable, or if things start to get stagnant, we can really focus in and like get regrounded through the cards. But another thing about them for me is they sort of open up this like portal. I can't describe it any other way. When I'm looking down at them, I feel like I can keep channeling more
Oh, wow.
comfortably.
Yeah.
They're like my anchor to like go for
Yeah.
it. And that's why I stopped doing my readings on video, because I never looked up. I was always looking at the cards and I was like, I'm not going to make eye contact with you anyway. So
Wow, that is really cool. And let's get into tarot a little bit. I think there's a lot of mystery around tarot
Mhm.
cards. It's easy to be kind of pessimistic because it's like, what, it's a deck of cards. I am very, very much I mean, beginner might even be generous. I'm excited to learn way more about tarot through your book that's coming out.
I was going to say, I have a book for
But
you.
yes, no, I'm so excited and I'm so ready. My experience with tarot is like I do have a few decks in my house, but they are like the beautiful, just like beautiful pictures, and there's words on them, and then you pull the card and you look it up, and there's just like some beautiful thing that's read. It's not exactly the traditional way of doing it, but I have found that, and I usually find myself using the tarot or my cards, I don't know if you can call them tarot, when I'm in a spiritual rut. Like
Hmm.
when I am not feeling like stuff's coming to me myself, or I'm not trusting myself, or I'm not doing all of my practices, um, then I just find myself gravitating toward the cards. And the card, it's always how I use it is it's just like always a reminder, or just takes me down the rabbit hole or the track that I needed to go down in that moment. And they're always
Hmm.
dead on in not like, oh, this is like telling me my future or the answer to what I need to do, but this is setting me on a path to just have a perspective or think about something that I just really needed to, and I wasn't able to pull it in myself.
Yeah, exactly. They are that. They bring a lot of accountability. I think there's a lot of practicality to the cards too,
Mm-hmm.
oddly enough, for how mystical and magical, we make them. They're actually a pretty grounded tool to use, and they're a pretty accessible thing to use so long as you aren't coming to that practice with fear. I think that's the biggest thing that gets people in their heads is if they're anxious about what could come out of the deck. Of course,
Yes.
it's going to be a different experience, but when
Yeah.
you are in, I love how you said, I'm in a rut sometimes. I kind of need that little nudge from the universe to tell me, like, what the heck is going on here? They're very, very helpful for that because they're pretty simple to use. Like, you shuffle the card, you pull a card, and back to that concept of the inner child, they're also very playful because they are reminiscent of a game. And that's how tarot actually started. So in the 15th century, they were considered just a playing card game. And then
Oh,
over time, they
cool.
took on, yeah, so the game itself started in Italy, and it was very like aristocratic. Like people would commission special custom decks that the artist would create for them. It was kind of like, it's like parlor game, so to speak. So it was like actually really sophisticated. And
Yeah.
then over time, it moved through different iterations and became a whole other, darker tone. And both can be true. I think both just the simplicity of I'm using this to work with my own energy and see what comes up, as well as asking the deeper, harder questions of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
It leaves room for both.
Yeah. What do you think the future of tarot and psychic readings looks like?
I hope it keeps evolving. It seems to have
Mhm.
evolved quite a bit. I will
Yeah.
say, that 2020 thing did a lot for the spiritual industry. It really did. I think we were really obviously hit with a collective experience where we wanted to understand kind of ourselves better, how to show up better. And with that in mind, it has gone through, I think, quite a renaissance almost, like
Hmm.
it's really evolved to be more approachable, especially if you find the right people who you resonate with and who you feel safe to explore it with. That said, I think there's still a lot of the power dynamic in spiritual practices. I know things because
Hmm.
I have this access that you don't. That type of stuff really bothers me. And I think there's a lot of work to be done there in general, but I think that spans a couple industries, to be fair. But that said, I think that it's getting more and more comfortable, and I think people are feeling really welcomed. And I think intuition as a whole is something we always have had, but we're just learning
Hmm.
to appreciate more. And it's cool. I want to be. I've told you this, like I want to be kind of a voice in the tarot industry that's really trusted and does
Yeah.
appear grounded and is empowering, because there's a lot of examples of this work not being that. And, I do want to say it is really our responsibility to use that discernment too. So while I'm equally pointing out some areas where like this space could grow and get better, I also do want to say it's our personal responsibility to
Yes.
learn that type of thing too and create that compass for ourselves. So it's a complicated space, but I just try to focus on like my lane and how I do it. And I'm
Yes.
hoping that it continues trending this way.
Yeah. What is, or what are some like red flags that if your reader or your psychic is going this direction, like that should be a sign to
I
to back
think,
away?
yeah, pretty much like any absolutes, like so anything
Mm.
really absolute. And anything that's like just instilling a fearful reaction. Like if your body literally retracts and you're like, oh my God, I have to quit my job tomorrow. Oh my God, my husband's
Mm.
cheating on me. Like that is a
Mhm.
lot. And I think that there's so many, even if there are some signs or some energies that show that things are maybe not what it should be, right? Like there's a little bit of inauthenticity or change that needs to happen. All of those things can still be uncomfortable. But I think the delivery of it, to name it so black and white, is really
Yes.
dangerous, because someone's going to
Yes.
really attach to any detail and start to define themselves by that. Like I've even noticed in my work over the last couple of years, I've really been more mindful to streamline some of the details. For example, like if I receive like an idea of what a potential partner could look like, for this person in the future, I try not to tell them too much, because I've noticed I've
Mm.
had clients be like, well, you said he'd have brown hair. I'm like, who gives a shit? Like, just move on. Like,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
we can't get hung up on that. So
Yeah.
I think that people who lead with a lot of the like really definitive stuff, kind of what you were saying, honestly, your reading where there were like names and this and that,
Mhm.
it's fun and it's exciting, but is it truly healing? I don't know. And that's where
Right.
the line is.
Right. Because there's still free will, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
assume no matter what you see in your experience, there's the end user, which is not the right term, but the soul, the human, there's
Yeah.
still free will. So that's a big factor. And I think any of these experiences with healers should really be empowering, because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, no matter what the message or no matter what the work that they do, like an hour session with someone is not going to fix your
Hmm.
life. It's not going to
Yeah.
change. I mean, it could be a catalyst for change, but each of us have to then go on that journey, like,
Yeah.
show up, do the work. It's not like, no matter how many hour-long sessions they have with you, it's not, it's still up to them to actually integrate and do the work. And so something you said about like how healers or psychics have been in the past, and even what we've seen in the past few years, like I know astrology well, and I think that's one of the themes I'm most excited about with this, like
Hmm.
Pluto shifting
Age of
into
Aquarius.
Aquarius and
Yeah.
some other things, is like the age of the guru is like done, or the
It's
age of the
dying.
guru
Yeah.
outside of us. and I've always felt that, and you've named we can talk about it in spirituality, but just as you touched on every system, the systems that I live in running a business, like there's gurus or the people that know it all and everyone looks up to, or have a certain power, and like that's dead or dying, and it is really a time for each of us to step into our own individual power and like
the guru, the idol.
Bye.
It's interesting. See ya. I will say too, like back to the red flags I thought of when you said that. Also, like any reader where you feel like you can't fix things unless you come back to them. There's a dependency of like, there's a cord between you and so and so, and I'm the only person that can cut it. It's like, I don't think so. I could probably write down, I choose to release this person from my energy, crumple it up, throw it in the trash, and you just did it. You cut that cord.
Done. Yeah. Cord cutting is pretty cool. Do you do any of that in your work with clients?
I don't do it as much now. I definitely have. I've done it personally in my own work, and I've done it with clients. I've guided them through. I do it more in like a mentorship setting where we're working maybe ongoing. I can touch base with them after, and we have longer sessions. My readings are a little shorter, 30 minutes, and meant to like kind of just inspire the change that they need, give them that kick. But we aren't necessarily doing healings together. I do offer suggestions for them. Like everyone has their own specific energetic makeup, obviously. So sometimes their guides will show me like what would work really well for their system, and I'll tell them like, cool. here's an idea of something you can do. Because I think what's also intimidating about this work in general and spiritual healing is like we start to look at how other people do it, and it might not work for us. So it's fun to get that like recipe for them, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's fun as someone who is healing. It's fun to like learn about all the different things, test them out, and see what resonates. And that's part of like paying attention to your intuition too, is like understanding what does or doesn't resonate. I have to ask you, have you seen your guides? Like, do you have a visual? Have you ever visualized any guides? I don't get to see mine. I mean, I know they're there and I feel them, but like, I want to know what they look like. That's just like the human in me. But do you ever literally? No, I haven't.
So okay,
I haven't even thought to do that.
I love asking people. Yeah, you never think of it. So I have seen my guides. I will say that when day to day, when I'm working with them, I'm not like staring at them as we work together. Like I've met them, we've greeted each other, and I know what they look like, or my interpretation of them. That's another distinction. It's like, this is just our way to understand them better, is to give them a face or a look or an age, so that we can connect. But likely they're probably just something very different that we can't even define. So what I would say is ask to see or hear or communicate in the way that you want to. A lot of my clients say that. They'll be like, oh, my guides don't do this with me. And I'm like, did you let them know you want to?
Did you?
They're taking our cues. Yeah, they're really taking our cues. So just say, I would love to see something that represents your energy. Maybe your guides just want to show up as a color at first. It's a specific color that you can see from behind your closed eyes. Or maybe it's a symbol. Or maybe you do see like a full figure, but you feel them, and that's all that matters.
Yes, I do feel them, and that is very clear, but I can't wait. I'm going to ask.
Yeah, of course you are.
I'll keep you posted. I'll keep everyone posted on how they reveal themselves. Please. But I feel like my guides are very cheeky. Like,
yeah, they're very humorous. Like, they're silly.
It's so fun, and it's so funny, and sometimes I'm like, sometimes when something comes through that is just like so bold and so like duh, I'm like, that's my guy. That's not me. That's them.
They have a little attitude. Like, they're not people pleasers. They're also, I feel like our guides too, they're like playing a little joke on us because they have so much wisdom, which is why we're going to them.
Yes.
But they're just like, oh, you silly little soul down there. Like,
That is it. That's exactly how it feels. They're like, oh my God, really? I mean, I had an Akashic record reader that I was like chatting with a few different times. And like, it got to the point where it was basically my guides were like, you've asked us this a bunch of times. Yeah. We've told you, like, what do you want from us? Like basically, like, we're so bored with these freaking human questions you're asking us. Like, get over yourself. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true.
And it's so funny, just like you said, to imagine their perspective of like they just have this like they can see it all, and there's this breadth of knowledge and like otherworldly things that they have, and we're like asking, should I talk to this friend this way, or should I do this in business? And they're like, they're actually like, it doesn't actually fucking matter. Like it doesn't.
We're gonna arrive at the exact same outcome no matter what, but do what feels good for you. It's pretty much what they're saying.
The human experience is just, it's so weird. And I think and I'm sure you've probably wrapped your head around this more than I have, but when you start to wrap your head around it and like start to detach yourself from the things that actually don't matter, that you maybe have held on to or think that do matter, or, and I'm trying to trace what that process has been for me of like just getting to this place that feels a lot lighter and a lot like what you touched on the beginning of like, it's all going to work out how it's meant to be, and stop being so human, and I don't know if that's the right language, because we're all here to have this human experience, but like, man, I think sometimes we can just be too human, and it's like
I think we take it to the extreme.
It interferes with the joy and the beauty of the experience. And if the answer is, which it feels more and more the more experience I have in life, if the answer is like, it's all just going to work out exactly how it's supposed to, then like, what are we doing? What's all the worry? What's all the stress? What's all the hustling? Like,
totally.
What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of overcomplication. I think there's also there's like three parts, right? There's like, part of it is just sometimes privilege of certain things, which I've also sat with, where I'm like, I get to just say I'm gonna be okay. But if we remove that layer, we are gonna be okay. And I think that like, because what else? What's the other option? We're all just collectively not okay, and then there's really no reason. I don't know. Why are we here?
Right.
Like, I think it's just about taking advantage of the time we have, as kind of, not to sound in a morbid way, but like there is limited time. So taking advantage of that, feeling as fulfilled and comfortable with ourselves, confident in ourselves as we can. And that's a gift, to be ourselves fully. Even if we don't make this huge monumental mark on the world, or maybe we do, maybe that's going to be the next lifetime, you're that big, powerful presence in the world. But if you can just be yourself, I think you're doing it right. And I think if we started to just let that be the mission and see where it takes us, I think we'd all be in a very different world.
Dude, nail on the head, to be yourself. I'm hearing more people say that recently. And, I've done so much. I mean, I've spent so much time and money on healing. And I've lived on the planet for 38 years, and 35 of them have been trying to heal and figure out this journey and figure out what's my purpose, what do I want in life. And frickin' year 38, I've come up with it, and it is to be me, to be myself.
And that's all it is.
Hell? Like, yeah, like, couldn't I have figured that out a long time ago? But then there's the digging of like, okay, I'm getting that, I feel that, I get this message, but then we have to figure out who are we? What does that fully mean? We are, we've been conditioned and had experiences that move us very far away from ourselves. And for me, speaking personally, and again, I know this probably resonates with you, but like, the trauma and the conditioning just took me it was a hard realization for me this past year. It took me so far away from actual me. And that started at a young age. So it's like, damn, I've lived most of my life with this costume on, this mask of being not inauthentic, because I wasn't consciously doing it, but running my personality, my stories, my actions through the trauma and the truths that created for me. And so now, like, yes, I agree, to everyone, I think probably our values of whatever your personal values are, whatever is best for you in life, like, to truly be yourself is probably actually the purpose, the goal. And man, for me personally, it's going to take and is taking a lot of work to figure out what that actually means. This thing that's so simple that should be so natural to us. And when you see a kid, I see my kid and like, it is so natural to us. We just are.
Yeah.
Until we're not.
But then we get our energy gets until we're not. And our energy gets like fragmented, you know? And that's how I like describe it. Like my trauma occurred when I was like 4 years old. So I look back and I'm like, I literally was not, I was like, there were fragments of me that were like left behind at that point, and parts of me that were scarred and different moving forward. And ultimately it's like what it was meant to be. But it's interesting to kind of, that's why I say that intuition is sometimes a homecoming too. It's like, let me just even get back to like my completeness, my wholeness, my fullness first before I decide what I'm meant to like do with this energy that I have. And I think that is really step one. And also like, but I talk in the book about in one of my chapters about like choosing the next best thing or the next right thing, you know, not the full scope of like what's the absolute best thing for me, but like in this exact moment. And that is intuitive living, from deciding what food to eat that day to who to call to connect and how to move your body, how to dress. Like that is you expressing what feels like the next best thing to do. And for me, like I bought a tarot deck on a whim. Literally, I was wandering through streets in New York. I write about it in the book. I was hanging out with some girlfriends and we were like, I saw it. I said, I kind of want that. I've never wanted that before. I've never even used a deck of cards before. And here I am, like, you know, years later,
writing a book about it.
Yeah. I'm like, I had no freaking clue.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. And I love that. Thank you for saying that in such a beautiful way, because that's so empowering to just take the next best step. Just show up. Just show up in that moment. What feels good. It's empowering, one, to like let go of the whole big picture, the future, the big plan. Because we truly don't have full control over that. And that gets really stressful to know all the steps to take versus taking the next best one. But also, it's just, I mean, it's just so freeing. And really, like, how else are we living, you know?
What
Like,
other option?
yeah.
Sometimes that's how I feel. I also think too, like this idea of like seeing our path, you know, 5-10 years down the line, that's just to keep us motivated. Ultimately, it's all those choices, those moments where we choose the next best thing or the perfect right thing in that moment, that's really revealing the path in real time. It's you know, only a couple bricks ahead of where we are, when in reality we think we have this whole big road mapped out. And it's humbling to realize, I think, that like nothing, and that's how I feel right now too, on the precipice of like the book launching. I'm like, I have never felt more unsure of where I'm going. And yet I also have kind of my own pressure I'm putting on myself. I'll admit that. But I feel like with the milestone of the book, it's like I'm supposed to know what's next too. So it's been an interesting little mixture for me.
That is such a hard thing to balance, because the book it's a business essentially, right? You are still running and leading a business, and you're expected to know the answers. But how silly are we to think that we also, like, the information tools you have today, how silly are we to think that those will serve us and get us to that point 5 years down the road? And that we, like, what we could imagine for ourselves is probably so much smaller than what the universe has in store, or what the possibilities are, or even what we can imagine for ourselves. You know, if you're on a healing, growing journey, like, you're changing so quickly. So what you think is your, you know, the goal today, that could completely change in a week. And that when you're on that path and seeing that and understanding that, that's when it really reinforces, like, just show up today, show up the best you can today, and take one step at a time.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. So tell us, what can we expect from the book? When does it come out? Where can we find it? All of the exciting things around this beautiful piece of work.
Yeah, so the Inner Tarot will be published and enters the world on 2/27, February 27th. She's a Pisces. And
Oh, that
yeah,
feels fitting.
that feels fitting. I was like, well, I'm certainly not in my energy, so I love that you read the book is. The book is available wherever books are sold. Obviously, theinnertarot.com offers everything from Barnes and Noble to Amazon to Target, wherever your preferred retailer. And the book is divided into 2 parts. So part 1 is really an introduction, a crash course in reading cards so that you can feel comfortable and
Cool.
grounded, even starting, the basics, so to speak. I talk about anything from tarot spreads to asking empowering questions to reading reversals and what that can look like. And then part 2 is really the bulk of the book. It's where I get into the specific definitions of each card. I offer multiple practices per card because I think it's important to embody and live your tarot. So experiential practices were really important, journal prompts,
Yeah,
breathwork
that's cool.
techniques, things like that. So you
That's
can feel like
amazing.
you're like integrating the card themes.
Yeah.
So that's really the book in both parts, and it's supposed to be for all levels. If you're super new to tarot, it's welcoming to you. If you're a pro, I hope you enjoy it too. It was written with everyone's journey in mind.
What's your highest hope for the book?
My highest hope is that people look at the cards and that they're for themselves differently by the end of working with it. So whether you work with it, you read through and get some of my perspective, and it inspires something within your own, or you work with it routinely and repeatedly as part of your practice, I just hope it shakes up your perspective and leaves you feeling different.
That's incredible. And what I truly believe, one word can change someone's life. It
Yeah.
can be a catalyst, and you are putting out a book with a lot of words. So I guarantee that it's going to be life changing for people. All right, last question that we ask our guests. So tell me or share in one word or one sentence, or of course, if you need it to be longer, that's fine too. But what would you use to represent your past self, your current self, and your future self, or past, present, and future?
Past is resilient and eager. Very eager.
I know her well.
I know her too. Present self is open to the unknown, curious, really curious. I'm labeling my fear as curiosity these days.
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
And it works. And my future self is soft. My future self is also open, but present.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And are you doing readings? I know you're about to enter a really busy period on tour. What's the best place or way for people to interact with you, learn more about you, hopefully book a reading? Because I know everyone will be dying to interact with you in that way after this. But
I love that.
what's going on?
So you can find my readings and all information about my readings and my schedule at katevanhorn.com, or connect with me on Instagram, Kate Van Horn. I do have my books closed until mid-March right now, but I'll be returning after my tour and hopping right back into it, because that's my favorite thing about my business is one-on-one sessions. So I'm not going to be going far. I'll be back.
Amazing. Can't wait for everyone to get their hands on the book. I can't wait for myself. I know it's going to be a game changer for me to start to incorporate the tarot a bit more and just hear and learn more about your story, because every time I interact with you, it just fills my heart. You are such an incredible force, an incredible spirit, and you've been bringing joy and light to people one-on-one with your readings. But girl, the whole world is about to feel how amazing you are, and I can't freaking wait.
Thank you. No, seriously, I feel so you're such an expansive friend to me. You even in our recent friendship that we've been developing, it's so warm and so trusting, and I just appreciate you, and thank you for holding this space. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Well, we enjoyed you. I know everyone's going to love this, and we will link everything in the show notes so you guys know where to find Kate. Thanks so much, Kate.
Thank you.
Kate, thank you so much. That was such a fun conversation.
Kate, I am so excited to jump into your book. That was so powerful. And so her book, Kate's book, is The Inner Tarot, and her Instagram that you can follow along at for all of her magic is kate.van.horn Instagram, and TikTok kate.vanhorn. Queen, thank you so much again. And follow along at the Expanders Club podcast, at Expanders Club on Instagram. We're learning that. And guys, appreciate you listening and rating us and sharing, and the feedback, of course. We are appreciating you guys and your support.
Yes, we love you guys. Thanks for hanging with us. Share this one with a friend. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.